Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
$11:03 on a Wednesday. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Lock Shop. Dusty and Huss with you here, as always, presented to you by our great partners over at Coolbet. Any of the lines, any of the numbers, any of the bets that we were talking about, you'll be able to find at coolbet.com. And if you've not yet signed up for an account, you know what to do. Use the code LOCKSHOP when you sign up, and you'll get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to 200 smackaroos. If you are listening right now on TuneIn or at edmontonsportstalk.com, you can text us anytime, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. And, of course, in the Nasty Chat on YouTube, where VR Montenegro is already coming in hot with the Oilers' love over the Leafs. And I see Jake is saying, let's strictly stick to betting and not talk about anything else that happened last night in the world of sports. Huss, my man, welcome home. How was the trip?
Oh, my God, it was awesome. It was awesome. Thanks again to the fellas for holding it down for a couple days while we were in transit. I'm still not entirely sure that I've entirely warmed up.
How cold was Arrowhead?
Dude, I'm from Winnipeg. I know what cold is all about. I've been cold my whole life, in fact.
I've been cold my whole life.
That was next level. That was next level. I thought that I was thinking that it was going to be sort of a similar to the Bomber Rider West Final a couple years back, which was cold. I mean, it definitely was cold. But the temperature was a little colder. Like the legit temperature was a little colder. I think probably in and around Celsius, I'm thinking minus 21, 22.
Okay.
And then you add in the wind. And the wind was significant. And it increased as the night went on. I got to shout out my buddy Dom. I mean, listen, I live in a place with indoor parking. I mean, I'm basically, doing the Winnipeg shuffle, running from the car into somewhere warm most of the time. Like, I'm not outside a lot. And luckily, Dom's that guy that loves his snowblower and loves snow. So he'll go out and do his driveway, and then he's cranking out a couple other people. Anyone need some snow blowing done? So he's got he hooked me up with this Expedition Canada Goose jacket that I think they wear in Antarctica or something.
Not messing around.
And I needed that. I got boots. I hadn't had boots in years. I got some boots from my buddies at Royal Sports. And even with multiple layers of socks, the thick wool socks, the boots, the concrete was so cold. I didn't bring cardboard in. At halftime, Dusty, I went into the concourse and I found someone had gotten a hot dog or something like that was in a styrofoam container.
Okay.
I grabbed that off the ground, and I grabbed a couple popcorn boxes, and I created my own pseudo cardboard to stand on in the second half. And that actually did help.
Just standing on the cardboard helped that much. It was that cold. The concrete was oh my God.
Big time. I mean, it was literally just standing on a block of ice. And for the first time, maybe ever, at least at a football game, I didn't even have a beer.
What?
Drinking it was literally impossible because you're kind of trying to have things over your face. It was that cold. And then the other thing was that I saw a guy that had one. He was standing there talking to someone holding it for maybe 2 minutes after he bought it. And all of a sudden the stuff's freezing and coming out of it. I don't know if you saw that video where someone went and took a water bottle out of the cooler, held it up, and within 5 seconds, you just saw the cloud go down as it started to freeze. It was incredible. And as I said, the Chiefs would be ready for that, and the Dolphins would want absolutely
You nailed that. You nailed that.
And that game actually, overall, I'm sure you guys talked about it the last couple of days with all the games. It ended up being a great. The Cleveland loss hurt because I had a bunch of 4-game parlays that lost on that where all the other 3 games came in. But the the Chiefs alt line came in at plus money. The under in the game came in, and the Pacheco rushing total came in. So I had 3 pretty significant bets on that. I hit that one harder than any of the other games, just because I felt that there was such a massive advantage for Kansas City getting. I mean, Tua's from Hawaii. I would have loved, and maybe we'll see some of this because the Dolphins were doing that Hard Knocks. Like some of the mic'd up moments of the Dolphins. I mean, getting out there and I mean, they probably, for not everybody, but some of the guys were like, what is going on? And as you watch the game, I mean, they had that one big play to Tyreek Hill. Reek played his ass off and was very classy in defeat as well. I have to give Tyreek Hill some credit. He specifically congratulated L'Jarius Sneed and McDuffie for the way that they played, and had a funny tweet afterwards that he blocked his ass right all the way to Cancun, which I'm sure where they're probably warming up last night. But it was awesome. And the atmosphere was incredible. And there was probably, I would say, for Arrowhead, there was probably 10,000 people that just said, no way. I have tickets. I'm not going. Or got there. I sat in the upper bowl of Arrowhead for the 2019 AFC Championship game against the Patriots. And it wasn't as cold. But if you're in the upper bowl where the wind, I mean, you're so much more exposed to the wind. I can't even imagine what it was like up there. I was luckily in the lower bowl, first row in front of the suites. And get this. I was actually probably only about 100 feet from Taylor Swift and the Kelsey ones. Like we were in section 116. They were in 118. It's like I couldn't really see or whatever. And I was more concerned about the game. But the suite behind us, to give you an idea of how cold it was, the windows kept fogging up the way your car does. Yeah. And like every 5 minutes or so, guys are pulling out their credit cards and scraping the windows so they can see.
Jeez.
It'll be a game. I'm glad I did it. It'll be one I'll remember for a long time. A really special game in Chiefs history. Huge win, setting up the game we've all wanted to see. Sunday night, Bills Chiefs. I cannot wait. And that moment, and I'm sure you guys have seen that video of the Swift box or where everyone's doing the back and forth. They played this song called Swag Surfing. I wasn't familiar with it. I am now. It's like an older song, like 16 years ago. Like they kind of showed that, obviously, very noteworthy. Every single person in the stadium was doing that.
Everybody was doing that.
Yeah, everyone was going back, and it was great. And another reason why it was so much like that Bomber Rider game is the DJs knew the assignment. Every single break, they're playing like dance music, like that's going on, because nobody sat down the whole game, and you had to keep moving. And needless to say, the Chiefs are moving on to the divisional round, and we have. I'm so happy the way the Jets' schedule has worked out this week, Dusty. I got back in time, went to the game last night, started another winning streak, kept the other streaks of 3 and 2 goals or less going. But the Jets are actually off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We got an afternoon game on Saturday, an early one, I think 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock Winnipeg time against the Sens. And then they don't play again until Monday. So these next 3 days, I'm going to be able to almost solely focus on this game on Sunday night, and then right back at it. And next week for the Jets going into the break, Boston on Monday, Leafs in Toronto on Wednesday, and then Leafs back here Saturday night heading into it. And speaking of the Leafs, that was a bit of a barn burner last night.
It was quite something. Toronto cannot hold a lead to save their life. I think I saw somebody already in the nasty chat. Maybe it was VR Montenegro. Bet the Oilers when the Leafs are up 1-0. Bet the Oilers when the Leafs were up 2-0. And the Edmonton, the Oilers, they just find ways right now. It's just that simple. Like McDavid was going last night. He was a man possessed. It didn't lead to a huge night for him, but he really set the tone for the team last night. Ryan McLeod came through with a huge assist and then the game-winning goal. Stuart Skinner was absolutely outstanding again. and they've now won 11 in a row. I mean, overall, the bigger story, if you're looking at like Canada as a nation and hockey discussion, the Maple Leafs blowing another 2-goal lead and having lost 4 in a row. And then it's funny you brought up that home and home coming up with the Jets, because we were looking at it. And I mean, those 2 games could be the final straw for Sheldon Keefe if he's still around, because they get Calgary, not easy right now. Then they get Seattle and Vancouver, and then the home and home with Winnipeg. Like that is a tough stretch right now for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if they keep blowing 2-goal leads, and if Mitch Marner keeps saying, yeah, we're playing some good hockey right now, I mean, somebody needs to get some sort of change done in Toronto, because it's not looking good.
Tell me you saw Craig Button on SportsCenter afterwards last night.
Buddy, we had Craig Button on our show yesterday morning. He fired Sheldon Keefe 3 times. Like, he was like, it's done. They have to do it. Was he with Onright last night?
He was with Onright. Listen, this is Jake. Jake, plug your ears. Plug your ears. Because I actually recorded this to send to a friend, and it is so funny. This is a 20-second clip of Craig Button absolutely giving it to the Leaf. Well, to everyone involved in the Leaf, including their fans.
Button right here. And this is my message to the Toronto Maple Leafs faithful. You can't handle the truth. And it's simple as this. You want people like me to come up here and tell you how good your team is. It's not very good. Defensively, they're not very good. They don't know how to hang on to leads, and they know how to fold. And they did it again. This is 2-0.
And they know
Oh.
I guess, and you know what, TSN needs that, because I think we all know that, you know, because of how kind of Toronto-centric the media is, they get the coverage. And at a time like this, there needs to be someone to go out and speak the hard truths, I guess. That being said, that's still a really good hockey team, I think, a very dangerous hockey team. I am really looking forward to the games next week. But I know all the attention was on Edmonton last night and Toronto and the Oilers. But might I remind everybody once again that if you look at the NHL standings, look up, way up.
Winnipeg
right
Jets.
to the top. Jets are back on number 1. They had the number 1 points percentage going into last night, but they got back on top. They're tied with Vancouver, 62 points, I believe, and have the 1 game in hand. And I was crunching some numbers, man. Okay, remember that game at the end of November between the Jets and Oilers where the Jets were up like 1-0? Late in the game, and then Nurse scored that weird goal.
Yep, I remember the game.
The Oilers scored again, and then ended up getting an empty netter. That's the last time the Jets have given up 3 goals in regulation, and it was an empty netter. I was just crunching these numbers: 21 straight games of 2 goals or less in regulation. So just think about what those unders are. If you were betting the visitor Jets opponent team total under 2.5, 21 straight games you would have cashed with the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, the team is running on like these streaks that are frankly unfathomable. And I mean, I think they're 3 away from the modern record of 3 goals or less from the Minnesota Wild in 2015. And beyond that, it happened back when it was a 6-team league and all the games were 1-0 and 2-1. So they've earned a couple days off, and then it's time to hit the road and see if they can stay on that. But here's Jake. Jake's got the blown 3-1 lead to the Islanders, 3-0 lead to the Avs, 1-0 and 2-1 lead to the Wings, and another 2-0 blown lead against the Oilers last night. Live betting against the Leafs has probably been very, very, very profitable. Hey, VR, while you're in there, what was the money line numbers on the down 1 and down 2? Interested to know that.
Well, yeah, because the 1 was right off the beginning, right? Matthew scored 18 seconds in or whatever, so. Yeah. VR, let us know. VR Montenegro. Let us know what you got them at last night on the live play. Down 1-0 and down 2-0. Also, shout out Richard's in the nasty chat there saying Bouchard scored his 11th yesterday. Now it's a payday. 5 more points from him and another payday. Over 44.5 season points, buddy. The city of Edmonton hammered the Bouchard over on the goal total. We've already got it. He's 3 points away from hitting the initial point total. I've got that point total at 44.5. I've also got it at 54.5 and both of them are going to cash. So it's the Bouchard in Edmonton is a major payday for lock shoppers and ESTers.
Yeah, the lock shop almost single-handedly, I think. It would be interesting. I highly doubt there was any NHL future that moved more from when they were laid out until the start of the season as the props involving Bouchard.
Bouchard moved 10 points in like 24 hours because the 44 and a half just got crushed.
I see VR plus 123 down 1 and plus 253-ish down 2. Nicely done. Yeah, the Bouchard point totals. And remember at the start of the year where you guys were saying are not sure he can actually play in the NHL because he can't play any defense?
Yeah.
He's come around, I guess.
It's working out okay. Now, Ekholm got healthy, and they changed the coach. So I think those two things certainly helped Bouchard, but he's been much better. Now, with that being said, the defensive side of the game is still his weakness. But offensively, he's just been absolutely terrific.
Is the new coach the savior in Edmonton? Or like I don't see or hear much about him.
Well, he flies under the radar just in general. Like you see him behind the bench. He doesn't look like he moved. Like he's very calm and cool. I thought they would have got somewhat on track under Woodcroft. Like Connor McDavid was banged up at the beginning of the year. He was slow coming out of the gate. But the one biggest thing about the coaching change, I think, and I would think that this is like 80, 90% credit to the coaching staff making whatever changes they made. But they were hemorrhaging scoring chances against off the rush. And they were giving up way too many grade A scoring chances. And they basically just eliminate that part of the game, man. Like, they don't take much risk anymore. They've won these 5 games. Like, they've won 11 in a row. Prior to the one last night, the 4 games prior to that, they'd only scored 10 goals in those 4 games and won all of them. So they're finding ways. Stuart Skinner's had, I think, 9 or 10 what we would judge as quality starts in a row. So, yeah, they've come around big time, and the coaching change certainly worked on that front. Another one in the nasty. Yeah, we got hosed on the Hyman goal last night. That was our Nielsen Show lock shop hotline of the day, and he scored an absolute beauty, and it came back on an offside. So that sucked. I was
wondering about that. I was checking the scores from my seat at the arena.
Yeah.
At the Islanders Jets game. I saw it was 2-0, and then I saw Hyman goal just on the score app. And then I looked back and they said that Draisaitl scored the first goal, and I was wondering what had happened with that. So
four goals disallowed already this season for Zach Hyman. He's just bad luck.
What was his goal prop for the year? Do you remember?
I can't remember, but it would have probably been. I can't remember. I'm not sure if I got on that or not. It would have been. It would have been high 20s, low 30s. Like he's almost there. It probably would have been like in the 29 to 31 range, I would think, after what he did last year.
Sure,
So
because I think people realize that he's going to be playing.
Yeah. Late night in the NHL. I want to get into the NFL lines with you because we've seen some movement. The one game's moved by a full point since yesterday's lock shop. But just quickly, Huss, it is just 3 games tonight. We're going to give you some golf plays as well, kind of dove into that research for this week as well, the American Express, so we'll get into that. But anything you like tonight in these 3 games in the National Hockey League?
Well, I got to start a new streak for the play of the day after you remember when I had that, what was it, 11 or 12 game streak last year on the play of the day, and when I finally lost, it was in a shootout. Well, I took my first loss of 2023 last night. I did get a little aggressive. I took the Sharks money line at plus 133. Certainly not just taking big chalky plays. They tie the game and lose in a shootout. So unfortunately, I didn't get a win last night, and I've got to figure something out tonight. I still haven't been paying enough attention to the NBA to really kind of lock that in. I was thinking about tennis, but I'm leaning towards the over in the Montreal, New Jersey game. The total is 6. Devils can score. They don't have great goaltending. You'd think the Habs would be able to get a couple in there. Of course, Montreal just beat Colorado 4-3. So I think that's my lean right now. Montreal jersey over 6 at -123. It's pretty tough. I usually just like betting money lines if I can. The Panthers at -200 is kind of way too chalky to give up for a play of the day. Frankly, so is the Devils at -181. So I think we're going to just cheer for some goals tonight in that Habs Devils game and go over 6.5. I don't even mind the over 6 in the Devils Canadiens game. I honestly don't even mind the over in the Wings Panthers game as well. We know that the Wings are going to be able to, the Panthers are going to be able to score. They've been great lately, and it's Alex Lyon going up against his old team. He's starting for Detroit, but I don't know about you. I mean, I think it's pretty hard not to like the favorites if you're just talking about money lines. You want to dive into a potential puck line at some plus money, maybe. But I think I'm going to sort of settle on over 6 in the Habs Devils game.
Spency 5 cents he's in and says Matthew Tkachuk over 3.5 shots -111 on Coolbet. He's hit that in 5 of 6. Florida Edge averaging over 34 shots per game, second in the National Hockey League. So if you're looking at some shot totals tonight, Tkachuk with the Florida Panthers could be one there. Haas, I've been waiting all week to talk NFL lines with you, buddy. So let's slide over there. Since yesterday's show, which Jake and Pat both joined us, full point in the Texans-Ravens game. That's now Texans plus 9.5. It was a plus 8.5, and we were talking about it yesterday, maybe moving a little bit the other way. Packers 9.5. The Bucks are 6.5. That moved yesterday, but has not moved since. And then for the first time this week that I've seen it, the Chiefs are now getting a full field goal on the road here in Buffalo. Just your initial thoughts on seeing all of these numbers with the way that they open and where they've moved to.
Well, first off, I'm surprised that Chiefs numbers moved. I kind of figured that it would be 2 or 2.5 pretty much all week.
Yeah, I said on Monday, I think that's locked into 2.5. I don't see it getting to a field goal, but here we are.
Well, listen, if you do like the Chiefs and you want to take the points, I mean, to me, this is a money line bet. I mean, if you like them, you're taking them to win. And the same thing with the Bills. So that is interesting. And again, it's 3 for the Chiefs at -114. The Bills at -3 at -103. At a full point of movement for the Texans to the Ravens.
I know.
And I'm not sure, like, are we missing? Is there somebody that's just been ruled out or something like that? Like, this is a tough spot for Houston to be in. Playing a rested, experienced Baltimore team after that performance they put out. But I'll be honest, I was so impressed with what Houston did to Cleveland. And I know Cleveland, their home road splits were significant. But, dude, CJ Stroud, big time player. And, I mean, we'll be talking more about Baltimore likely the next couple weeks, assuming they win this game. But I do think back to late in the season. I mean, I had the Rams on the road in Baltimore, and you remember that game, it went to overtime. It was tied at 31-all. I mean, like, the Baltimore defense, as great as it looked against the Niners in that game, that we all remember because it was prime time, it was Christmas, everyone was heated up. Like, there have been some times this year where Baltimore has gotten lit up and they really need to lean on Lamar in their offense. So I don't just count out the Texans in this game. Like, I think Baltimore's going to win the game, but I mean, we're pushing close to 10 points in this game.
It's going to be hard to not take 9.5 points with CJ Stroud at quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm stunned that it moved a full point. Somebody let us know. I mean, maybe we're missing something. There've been some sort of significant announcement of somebody not playing for the Texans here that would move the point that much, or was just that much money coming in on the Ravens at the 8.5, which would have surprised me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know. I see Duck Dads. He's got a different take on the game total in that Devils Habs game. I guess I do have to consider that Jack Hughes is still out. It's just not like that would not normally be a play that I would just be jumping on, but I do have to think about it. But yes, back to the NFL. And I'll say this, D'Amico Ryans the job that he's done with this Houston team. Like, they're not scared of anybody. And you could just tell they have a level of belief in themselves that, like, that matters. That matters right now. And they're not going to go in there going, hey, we're playing with house money. It was great. We won a playoff game. No one expected us to do that. They're going to be going there and playing to win. And what we've seen from CJ Stroud is that he is able to put a team on his back at times and create some points. I might actually get on that 9.5 today. I don't think it's going to get to 10.
No, I think if anything, it slides back closer to the 8.5 that it opened at. If you want the Texans in this, you're probably not going to get a better number than 9.5. We might be wrong. I mean, maybe we hop on here tomorrow and we'll give you all of our official picks for the weekend on Friday. Maybe we hop on here tomorrow and it's 10, but that would surprise me a lot. What about the other 9.5 there? Packers, Niners.
Well, I mean, as I said, going into the weekend, I mean, right off the bat, I guess I jumped on the Packers when the lines came out at +7.5. And partly it was, I've been impressed with the way Green Bay's been trending at the end of the year. Partly was the Cowboys being the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy on the sidelines. And has he been fired yet, by the way?
Not yet. Surprisingly.
I keep on waiting for that notice that the Cowboys are looking for a new head coach. I realize that this is going to be a really tough spot for Green Bay to go in. A rested Niner team, Kyle Shanahan with an extra week to prepare. And never mind an extra week, some extra time. I don't know if you got that note that the San Francisco coaching staff started game planning for Green Bay in the second quarter of the game.
You can't blame them. Like, you can't blame them. And they should. They should start game planning for Green Bay, because Green Bay is another one of those teams where nothing to lose, a bunch of young guys who are all extremely talented and great athletes. It's a big number. I don't know if I like it as much as I like the Texans against the Ravens at the 9.5. What about movement? Do you think this thing slides one way or the other? It's kind of just been sitting at 9.5 here for a couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, to me, a move to 10 is so significant. I think it probably sticks in and around here. And you know, Packers are a very public team. They've got a big time fan base. They really inspired, I think, a lot of belief with the way that they handled Dallas. And Dallas, like, that was on the road against a team that, at least through the regular season, was a very, very good defense. Did they show up to play? No, but I do think San Francisco, is the play. But I will have a hard time not taking probably both of those underdogs with those big numbers. I mean, I think Houston and Green Bay showed enough that they need to be respected as teams that can hopefully be a little more competitive than some of the underdogs did in the first round. Well, underdogs or favorites for that matter in the case of the Cowboys.
A lot of those games were decided without a lot of drama along the way. So hopefully these dogs can provide us with that. I see Jake from Coolbet said he just hopped on the Texans at +9.5 with us there. Tampa Bay, 6. This opened at 6 on day one, slid to 6.5 yesterday. It still sits at 6.5. The Detroit Lions coming in off a tight win over the Rams, and the Bucs just putting the Eagles out of their misery in impressive fashion. Baker Mayfield, have yourself a day. Are you surprised that this line's 6.5 right now? Did you think it would have been a little bit tighter?
Well, not really.
No? Okay.
But do I think it should be? I kind of do. Like, let's look at what Tampa's got a really good run defense. And to me, that's the key against Detroit. Like, if the Lions start running downhill on you, you're done. You're absolutely
like
done.
They did on the very first drive against the Rams. Now, that game still came down to the wire, but they made a statement on the first drive of that football game.
Listen, if Baker plays the way he played on Monday, we're going to have a game on our hands. We are going to have a big-time game on our hands. And the Lions impressed me in some ways, not so much in others. Like, and this is the Dan Campbell team. He knows they're going to make some mistakes. He knows they're going to give up some plays. but they get their pound of flesh on every single play. I mean, when they are a physical team.
Yeah, they are.
I am so impressed with Puka Nacua. That guy might be the toughest receiver in the NFL based on his performance on Sunday night against the Lions. He was getting killed, and he caught everything. He took every hit.
Bouncing off tackles.
At one point.
Yeah.
I mean, what an incredible season for him, and what a valiant performance in defeat. I'll tell you what, we talk a lot about going for it on fourth down and the coaches that have been in. We know that Dan Campbell does it all the time. I am still stunned that McVay, first of all, didn't use that timeout when he had the opportunity to do it, thinking that they were going to get it back. And then the Stones on Detroit. I mean, that's a team that plays to win. They're not worrying about the clock. They're worried, how do we get a first down here right now and win
the game? Well, here you go. Throw it. Yeah.
And they did it.
To your best guy. Go to your best guys, get the job done.
This game could go one of two ways. I think it could be very, very close, like we saw the Rams-Lions game last week, or I could see the Lions getting up 14-0 in the first quarter and it being not that exciting of a game. I'm hoping, just from a fan's perspective, that we get a great game, because there wasn't a lot of drama in very much of the wild card round, minus that Lions-Rams game. But Baker with the chip on his shoulder, with no one believing them as an underdog, with a very, very good receiving core. And I mean, a receiving core that, to be honest, that game would have been even more lopsided if there wasn't a few drops in the first half.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was 3 or 4 pretty bad drops. This is awesome. I mean, I am pulling for the Lions. Like, I want the Lions. And I told you, I mean, before we even started, you look at the NFC, what team might be the biggest threat to San Francisco, acknowledging that San Francisco is the clear favorite. I still feel like the Lions, because if they can get to that point, they will have so much momentum. They'll have that belief in them. Would I bet them against the Niners? No, but I think they can get there, and that NFC Championship game could be a great, great scene. One thing I can guarantee you is the scene in Ford Field this weekend is going to be incredible. I mean, you watched it. That was absolutely electric. And you know what? Those fans, that city deserves it. And it was very cool to see all of, the famous Detroitians or Detroiters like Eminem and whatnot out there getting behind their squad. I might take all underdogs, to be honest with you, this week and see how things lay out, because I do think the numbers are big. But I do have a hard time thinking, like, let's just say here, well, I mean, the Chiefs-Bills is such a close matchup. We'll kind of remove those. But can you see any of the 3 underdogs actually winning the game? It's one thing to have a close game and to cover the number. It's another thing to win. And, man, like, if one of them do, Texans are plus 350 on the money line. The Packers are plus 370. The Bucks are plus 230. Every year, though, you go back and you look at the lines, and you look at what the odds were, and there's a big upset or two. I'm wondering whether things out. Let us know in the chat if of those first 3 games, if a team were up to pull off a legit money line upset, who would it be?
Man, that's a tough call. I'm with you on liking all 3 of those dogs. We'll see where everything's at come Friday when we do our picks. But I'd have a hard time being shocked if CJ Stroud pulls it off. With the way that he's played, he had obviously this was a playoff game, but their final game of the regular season was a playoff game. Like, the guy has stepped up in some major moments so far. Now, going into Baltimore is different. This is why they're significant dogs. 2 of them are well over a touchdown. One of them is almost at a touchdown. As for that Chiefs-Bills game, Huss, are you loving the Chiefs getting a field goal here?
Oh, yeah.
You're loving a money line anyway, right? So you'll take the 3.
Yeah. No, and again, you know what? Take it for what it's worth. I am. I have some biases here. However, this is the game. I mean, I love this situation for Kansas City so much. They've been written off by a lot of people that just focus in. It's our fantasy football world, and they're just talking about all the drops and how pedestrian the offense has been. What people are not paying attention to is how good this defense is. Like, Dusty, let me just pull up here. The Chiefs, over the course of the last part of the season, gave up in their final game. They gave up 12 points. Whatever. That was a nothing game against the Chargers. Gave up 17 to the Bengals, 20 to the Raiders, 17 to the Patriots, 20 to the Bills. I mean, you have to go all the way back to that Packer game to give up 27 points and then 17. Like 5 straight or now 6 straight games with 20 points or less. Now, can they do that to Buffalo? We will see. But Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs is a whole nother, well, no one knows it better than Bills fans. Rashee Rice has kind of turned into that number 1 receiver that they needed him to be. Kelsey looked a lot more ready to go, although he had a couple drops early on. But again, it's hard to judge too much just how cold that was. And I know that affected everyone. But if you don't think that Mahomes has heard all of the noise about their team this year and knows that he has the opportunity to go head-to-head with Josh Allen again in the playoffs. Tough to beat a team twice in a year. They feel like they got robbed in that game earlier on in Arrowhead. And the Bills fans know what the Grim Reaper is capable of. And the knives are being sharpened for that trip to Orchard Park on Sunday night.
Oh, it's going to be good.
I love it. I love it. I have almost every waking moment right now I'm thinking about it. And that's the way we wanted it to be. I mean, these teams have had some of the great games in recent NFL history head-to-head against each other. It is a perfect main event. And here's the other thing: the Bills got a couple injuries on the game against the Steelers, and on top of it all, like, I don't think it is insignificant that the Chiefs, through no fault of their own, more Mother Nature, are going to benefit from 2 extra days of rest and preparation for this game. So to me, this game should be a pick'em, to be honest with you. I mean, I realize we give points for
the home.
field.
That's what it is. That's what they're saying here.
I don't
right?
think home field is going to matter very much. The Mafia is going to
I was
be ready to go.
you don't think home field matters very much at all in this game?
Not when it's Patrick Mahomes on the other side.
Yeah.
Like,
you love Patrick Mahomes.
I mean,
I love it.
Hey, we're living in the Mahomes era right now, folks. And listen, until someone beats them, they're still the champs. They have a confidence, even though it hasn't seemed that way quite a bit this year. I think that they go into that game and they are absolutely ready for what Buffalo does. And if Buffalo wins and beats them, they're going to have to, they'll need to earn it. And can they do it? Absolutely. Like, I'm not sitting here going, the Chiefs are winning this game for sure. I mean, to me, this game is somewhat of a coin flip, but obviously having Mahomes behind center is the key. But a Kansas City defense that a lot of people have slept on, the best defense in the Mahomes era, that matters in the playoffs. That matters in these sort of wintry conditions. And by the way, I believe it was supposed to be Chicago and Buffalo tonight in the NHL.
Yeah, postponed.
That game's postponed. They're getting another 2.5 feet of snow right now.
Yeah.
Apparently, I heard that the Bills might have to cancel practice. So there's a lot of things, I think, working against the Bills right now. And if they're good enough to pull it off and make it to the AFC Championship game and take care of their nemesis, they'll be full marks for it. I'm feeling good, though, about the game, and I cannot wait for 5:30 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. This is probably going to be the game of the playoffs. I'm just saying it right now.
Late night in the National Hockey League. Duck Dads hopping in the PWHL in the chat. Boston -1.5, +210 against Toronto. Toronto outscored 14-5 in 4 games so far. Boston has only played 2 games and split between the current 2 top teams in the league in identical 3-2 games. And the PWHL games, the totals have now moved to 4.5 because the unders were absolutely just hammering it. So now it gets very intriguing because the numbers are at 4.5, 3-2 games now. will hit the over. The PWHL went 9 unders, 2 overs in the first 11 games. So they've adjusted those lines to 4.5 to make things a little bit more interesting there, and to cash some overs as well if you want to get in on some PWHL action.
Duck Dad, you, I think, just inspired me. I think I might change that.
You're doing it
pick today.
You're doing it.
I think we might get the girls involved today and play. And I think I'm going to ride with the team that I have pledged allegiance to. And it's quite ironic because our most hated team here in Winnipeg is the Minnesota Wild.
You're a Minnesota woman guy.
We're down with the Minnesota women.
Nice.
Down with the Minnesota women. And they are the number 1 team in the league. They're 3-0, 1 overtime loss. Top of the league right now. They're playing Ottawa, who has 1 win, 1 overtime loss. Oh, this is their second game. They've only played the 2 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm right. Minnesota minus 139 on the money line.
Watch for
I
it.
like the suggestion.
Cool Bet Socials. A little bit later on today. You can text us anytime, 780-218-9999, or you can hit us up in the nasty chat as well. Huss, it is that season. Start to dabble back into the golf betting, something that we're very passionate about throughout the spring and summer months. And we've got a tournament on our hands, and we've got about 15 minutes, I guess about 6-7 minutes here to dive into this bad boy. So have you taken much of a look here at the American Express?
You know what? I did spend some time this morning kicking around the Amex odds, and this is this weird tournament where they play the 3 different courses, and then the final round is the Pete Dye course. So we've got I've got some. I just want to see, where is Tony? Is Tony in this?
Yeah, Tony's in this. He's 33-1.
I may have to do the auto add to Tony because I didn't have him in my initial picks. I'm going to go with Tom Kim. And Kim's actually gone down a little bit. He's at 20-1 right now. But he is a guy, like, here's the thing about this tournament. And Scotty Scheffler is the heavy favorite at 5-1. He has won top 5, I think, at this event in the last sort of 5 years. And it's not a great Scheffler bet, I think, because this often turns into a putting contest. And that's the only contest that Scotty Scheffler does not win. Cantlay and Schauffele there, but there's a history of real long shot winners of this tournament before. And I think part of it is just the timing of year. I mean, I think we really sort of get into our golf bets more when we get to the swing, with Phoenix and whatnot, kind of Super Bowl weekend and beyond. But I'm putting a little marker down on Tom Kim. And then I have also made bets on one Adam Hadwin. And Hadwin is a guy, and he missed the cut last week at the Sony Open, but he's done very well in this tournament in the back. He's 8 for 8 here and finished second in 2019. I think there'll be a lot of people that'll be jumping on him for DFS this week. And then the other guy right now that I think we sort of just have to look at recent form is Chris Kirk. He won 2 weeks ago at the Century, had a nice top 20 last week at the Sony Open. He was T3 here last season. And here's a great stat. Shout out to the guys in The Athletic for firing this out. He gained almost 12 strokes ball striking at the Sony Open and was only let down by his short game, which is an aberration. And he loved the Pete Dye Stadium course last year. That's where they finish up. Gained more than 4.5 strokes on the field each day. So, I mean, you look at Kirk. Let's just see I just want to confirm what the odds are that I got it at. 40-1 for Kirk, 50-1 for Hadwin, and then a little bit more on our guy Tom Kim at 20-1. And as I say, just realizing that Tony is in the field, I may throw 10 or 15 on Tony just for my FOMO bet, but hate to see my guy win without me having a piece of him.
I got 3. I am on Tom Kim as well, 20-1 there. I mean, the guy crushes par 5s, and he's super confident with his putter.
Yep.
If that thing's rolling this week, to get him at 20-1 is really good value. T6 here last year, 9 top 10s last year. Like Tom Kim here. This one's interesting because he's in a drought, but I don't hate Xander at 10-1 right now. plus 1,000. He was one of the guys with Kirk who was T3 at this event last year, but he's gone 18 months without a dub. So it's, if you're looking in the theory of this guy is due, he's third on the odds behind Scheffler and Cantlay. You can get him at 10-1 right now. And then a little bit further down, JT Poston at 28-1. 2 top 10s at this event. T6 last year as well. And 7 top 10s in his last 11 starts. And you can get him at 28-1 right now. So I like him as well. I got a little top 20 play for everybody too. Andrew Putnam. To get him in the top 20, it's plus 250. He's 7 for 7 at this event and has 4 top 25s. So he's been in the top 25 4 times. You can get him in the top 20 right now this year at plus 250. So I don't mind a little sprinkle on him. Of course, if you are new to golf betting, for all of these events, they've got the different group winners. You've got tournament head-to-heads. You've got round head-to-heads. You got the top 5s, the top 10s, the top 20s, and you have a winner there as well. And we usually do put together, especially for the bigger events, but usually on a week-to-week basis, we'll throw together a little parlay here and try to hit on a few of these guys, right, Huss?
Yeah, you bet. Hey, just quickly off the golf for a minute, a little bit of breaking news from Major League Baseball and the Toronto Blue Jays. The Jays are in agreement with Cuban
pitcher,
star right-hander Yariel Rodriguez on a 4-year deal. So it has been a very quiet off season. Well, it wasn't quiet during the Ohtani craziness, but people have sort of been waiting. I mean, I think the focus is more on the bats for the Blue Jays. But, man, I mean, you add this guy to a staff that already was amongst the league's best. Looks like the Blue Jays are going to have the pitching this year. It's just a matter of can some of their star players bounce back and can they get the hitting? But
it's funny you mentioned like star players bounce back. Those would be the guys who need to hit the ball, right? You kind of lay it out here. You're right. They don't necessarily need pitching, but you can get an arm like this. I guess it's worth it, but they got to do something else with the bats here, or else we saw it last year. They had amazing pitching last year. It didn't mean anything.
And I just saw you tweeting about Jimmy John's and Jersey Mike's.
Dude, Awanik tagged me in that. Jimmy John's is one of my favorite places of all time. So if we can start landing some Jimmy John's here in Canada, this is going to be huge.
Folks, I've got a quick, funny Dustin Nielsen story. When we first got to be pals at the draft, I think in Chicago, Dusty, we had somewhat of a late evening, and Dusty had to do the morning show, and we were all doing our shows in the same spot, and I was sort of getting ready to do.
Were you there that morning?
He was leaving, and I'm like, "What are you gonna do now?" I was like, "Man, I gotta have a nap," but I did just order my favorite Jimmy John sub, double meat, no veggies. And I'll be now eating that sucker and going to sleep. And that was when I got a bit more of a window into the eating habits of my partner here on the Lock Shop, which are unique to say the least. He basically ordered the Al Michaels, a double Al Michaels from
so
Jimmy
good,
John's.
man. When I travel to the States,
talked about that sub for the next 2 days.
Yeah, well, when I travel to Jimmy John's, I try to find hotels that are close to Jimmy John locations. Like when I travel to the United States, that's one of the things I like to do because it's my favorite sub place of all time. Absolutely love it. Also, that day you saw me, that was the only show ever in the history of 15 years of doing this that I had gotten into it too much the night before and was late getting on the air the next morning. I remember I was laying in a bed. I woke up with a Kit Kat in my hand, and I was just passed out. And I wake up, and I realize the time it is. I'm like, I'm 15 minutes late for the show. I still have to run over to the hotel where I'm doing it from. So I'm calling Phrase, who's my producer at the time. I'm like, why didn't you call me when I wasn't around, when the show started? He goes, well, I just sort of thought you'd be there. I was like, yeah, but it's 15 minutes ago. So I get there, and I was always the first one into the room that day, and it was locked. So I had to wait like another 20 minutes for somebody to come unlock it. I didn't get it on the air until 7. And then I was in such rough shape that when we go to commercial break for like 7 or 8 minutes, I'd lay down and sleep and then get back up and do another segment on the show. So Chicago, great town. Great town.
I wasn't going to I was going to let you bring that up if you wanted to. I figured I wouldn't sewer you publicly on that, but it happens to anyone. So,
you got to go. I mean, you got to go.
Let's get these. I would love to get a nice early season golf winner. But as I say, I tread lightly on these golf wagers until we get to Phoenix and then post Super Bowl. Because right now, as I mentioned, most of my waking hours are spent thinking about the Buffalo Bills. How's Eric feeling about the game?
We haven't got into it too much with him yet. He'll be nervous as per usual with the Buffalo Bills. I mean, it's just so this whole thing is so weird to me being a Lions fan, man. Like watching that game, I went upstairs almost in tears to my wife after. I was just like, it's been 32 years, but I can finally say I watched the Detroit Lions playoff win. It was. Well, what a moment. What a moment. And it was funny because when they got the ball back, I was very calm. I was like, I think they're going to seal this thing away. And sure enough, they did. So that was nice to see. What's coming up in Winnipeg Sports Talk, buddy?
Well, what is coming up? We're actually going to talk a little Bombers. Stanley Bryant's back. Kenny Lawler restructured his deal. Ted Wyman's going to come on, give us a bit of an update on that. Murat Atesh from The Athletic. I mean, listen, we can't talk enough about the number one team in the league. We will continue to do that. That, I remind all of you, is the Winnipeg Jets. By the way, I know you got, when are you doing that Vegas thing?
That's going to be Super Bowl week.
Oh, Super Bowl
week.
The
Oilers are there against the Golden Knights on the Tuesday of Super Bowl week.
Oh, my God, I'm so jealous. Although I'm leaving to Mexico on that Friday.
I didn't know you were going to Mexico.
Yeah, first time ever. I'm actually getting a week. I haven't taken a week
since
WST started.
So who are you going with?
I'm leaving. Well, one of my good friends is getting married out there.
Ah, nice.
So it's a big
all inclusive and
beautiful, yeah. Like some high-end joints. I figured if we're gonna do it right. Not that I had any say in it. That's where it was happening, but I was definitely in. But yeah, I'm leaving on the Friday the 9th before the Super Bowl. That's the day that I'm leaving.
Oh, boy.
The Saturday is my birthday. Sunday is the Super Bowl. And then Monday is day off. I think the wedding is the Tuesday, and then another couple days, and then back on
I can see Huss strutting around the resort, just loving it. I will say this. Well, we were in Cuba for a Super Bowl. It was tough to find anything going on for a Super Bowl in Cuba. But we found it.
Got my luchador mask.
Oh, you'll fit right in. That's all you need to take. That's it.
Just wait when the guys are playing. Yeah. My red and gold Speedo and my wrestling mask. That's it.
All right, buddy. I'll let you get out of here. I'll wrap up the final few minutes on the Lock Shop. You will be back tomorrow. Have a good show today, bud.
Yes, I will. Go Minnesota in the PWHL. Shout out Duck Dad. All right, have a good one, guys.
You know what? The fact that we're talking about the PWHL from a betting perspective just goes, it's very important to grow these leagues by having people involved in placing a little wager on them. That's why I always talk about the CFL. We got to hammer CFL betting more and more and more. That's how I got into the NFL, and that's how we're going to get other people into the CFL. So this is good for the PWHL that we got guys like Duck Dad here in the Nasty Chats dropping trends on us, dropping totals on us. Huss is going to have that Lock Shop play of the day today, so that's good as well. All right, a couple of things. Take a look here. Quickly recap the golf that we are on. We're both on Tom Kim this week. I'm on Xander. I'm on JT Poston as well. And then I like Putnam in a top 20 spot. In the National Hockey League tonight, just the two games on tap that we talked about, Florida Panthers. I think I saw somebody in the Nasty Chat say that there will be no Barkov tonight. As for some exclusives available right now, if you go to coolbet.com, click on exclusives. Here's what we got laid out for you. Got some cool multi-sport daily exclusives. The boys got lots here. Pat and Jake going to work today. Helping Hands, Jimmy Butler, 5 assists. Sam Reinhart, 1 assist at plus 260. The exclusive, Raptors and Toronto PWHL, plus 375, both to win there. Mo Sider, 3 block shots. LeBron James with the block. That's a block party, plus 375. Sunshine State sweep. Panthers, Magic, Heat, all to win at 6-1. NBA Daily exclusives. Welcome to the Lake Show. AD and LeBron, 25-plus points. Lakers to win, plus 270. 3 for 3, Markkanen, Dame, Dalla, and Hero, all to record at least 3-pointers. That's at 3-1, coincidentally. Global superstars, Giannis and Luka, 30-plus points. Wemby to record 20 at plus 325. Wemby's been on a bit of a run here in his last 10. And then the old classic trade bait play in the NBA, Pascal Siakam, 5-plus assists, 5-plus rebounds, 20-plus points. And then over to some exclusives in the National Hockey League tonight over at Cool Bets. You got the Wednesday night chalk, Panthers and Devils both to win. That's plus 150. That's been boosted because I think if you put it in on your own, it's like plus 133. So you're getting all of these boosted when you go through it. Points from the point, Brandon Montour and Matheson both to record a point, plus 270. Shots. DeBrincat, Suzuki both to record 3+ at plus 375. Stars and Snipes. Well, that's a good name for a parlay. That's a good one. Cole Caulfield and Matthew Tkachuk both to score tonight at plus 550. That's probably worth a bit of a sprinkle. And then the road dogs tonight, if you want to hop on that, the Habs and the Red Wings. A little bit of a longer shot there at plus 675. That is going to do it for the Lock Shop. Obviously, a big night in the National Hockey League tomorrow. We'll continue to take a look at some day-to-day movement in the National Football League playoffs and take an early look at what's happening at the Amex as well on the PGA Tour. That's going to do it for us. We got Oil Stream coming up here at Edmonton Sports Talk. If you're listening on TuneIn, make sure you stick around. You get a little Whale and the Wolf. Oil Stream will be firing up in less than 5 minutes. And if you're on YouTube, make sure autoplay's on. I'll take you right on over to the Oil Stream. Thanks for joining us today. Good luck tonight. And we will talk to you tomorrow right here on the Lock Shop.